what was it that made you want to make that change?
While you're making that turn, you will feel some relief almost immediately. Like me and you, we would be locked under the jail by now.
Or it's really hard for that dream to die for some people. I just realized that I had completely forgot to hit record. So now we're actually recording. Yeah, I was trying to get the sound to actually work, and man, this
Yeah, that's okay.
oh wow. No, it is what it is, and that's I guess the beauty of all of this. So that last thing, I'm gonna have to ask you to tell that last story again, because that's really important here. I feel like is just kind of how you ended up. So you're from Boston originally?
Yeah, originally from Boston, Dorchester.
Y- Yeah, and so you ended up in California, and you're working as an auditor.
Yep.
And I'm picturing Crush the auditor, like you don't want to see Crush.
No,
You don't want to see Crush come by.
they didn't want to see me. I come in with the suit and the tie, fresh out of a rental,
Yeah.
fresh haircut, briefcase, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm the auditor." I show the ID, and their mouths drop, and the phone picks up, and they start calling all the other locations to let them know that the auditor is in the area, and he's probably going to be coming by
Mhm.
too. So it's like, drop everything, stop everything, finish up that last customer, open up the safe, let me see the books, bring everything out, let me do my thing. All right, this, that, and the other. I tell them, they're not going to find out what the grade rate that I'm going to give them until I leave. So it's always tense. But in doing that, I got burnt out. I was traveling, going all the way up to the Bay and, 5, 6 hour drives, sometimes round trip. Sometimes I didn't want to stay in a hotel up in the Bay. I wanted to go and sleep.
Mhm.
So I drive another 5 and 6 hours back just to sleep and then go back up there the next day because I just wanted to go home. And it was taxing. And when I left that job, I got laid off. I decided to make some changes, some lifestyle changes, and lose the weight. I gained probably a good 58 pounds. I was heavy, and I began juicing
Mm. That's
for.
a lot of weight on you, yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of weight. I got pictures. Like, I was pretty thick neck. I couldn't see my stomach. My ties were always dirty from
Mhm.
my steering wheel. I was always getting food on my shirts. I couldn't put a sock on standing up. I would have to sit down and put my socks on, like, fat guy problems. Um, and I decided to make a
So how did you yeah, you're getting there actually. So what was it that made you want to make that change? Because I mean, a lot of us, I think a lot of people can relate to that. Like you've got a job, sounds like a good job even, but
job.
good job or not, like you've got a job and you just kind of like you're a little heavier than you want to be. Sounds like you're a little complacent.
I was on the quest
I think a lot of people are there.
I was on the quest for the
What was
best
that?
burger. I was on the quest for the best burger and the best clam chowder. Like I was saying, being from
Man,
Massachusetts, the seafood and
sounds like me.
burgers and fast food, like, all of that stuff I was into. So if, it was always on the company. So while I'm traveling, I'm looking for,
Mm,
Red Lobster and
the good stuff.
McCormick and Schmidt and Legal Seafood. And, I'm looking for these top end places. And, I put on a lot of weight, man. And so when I decided to make that change when I got laid off, I decided to break out actually, I went to go get a checkup, told that I was pre-diabetic, and then I was very close to needing to be prescribed insulin, and that was scary when I found out that insulin was actually an injection and not some medication. And I went.
How old are you?
I was it's about 34, 35, and
Okay.
um I figured I'd do some soul searching. I went home, I broke out the Jack LaLanne juicer, and I started juicing, you know, beets and spinach and kale and carrots, ginger, and I started eating lentils and brown rice and salads, and that's all I ate was lentil, brown rice, and salads and juices and water and ginger tea for maybe a good 3 weeks, and I was able to drop a good 15, closing in on 20 pounds in 3 weeks. And so people started to ask me
Mm.
what's going on. And my barber one day asked me what I was doing. I tried to give him my recipes, but he wasn't interested. He was like, "Look, I'm buying Jamba Juice and Robex every morning. I would rather drink whatever it is that you're doing. So bring me a few juices."
Good.
So I brought a few juices. He told a few celebrities that he was cutting hair for, Cedric the Entertainer and a couple of other people. And he was like, "Yeah, bring me a few of them juices. As a matter of fact, bring 8." And I was like, "Whoa, hold on." And I don't have resources to put 8 juices together. So I'm emptying out empty water bottles, and I ended up bringing him the juices.
Mm.
They loved them, and the next day he asked for 8 to 12 juices, and I was like, "Okay, I gotta figure this out." So I figured it out. I found bottling. I found bottles that I could, cap, myself, and what I did was I found this mini Red Bull fridge, and it had a Red Bull emblem on it. It was just a piece of plastic. You just pop that out, and I had someone design me a logo for Juice Hugger, and I stuck it in there, and I put that Red Bull mini fridge in the barbershop, and I would just come and
Oh, snap.
it with the juices. And I was like, well, here's the juices for the day. Let me know if you run out. By the end of the day, all the juices would be gone. So I was stocking that thing 3, 4 times a week, making money. And they decided, oh, the
This is a really good
barbershop's doing
That's a really good DIY,
yeah,
like, moment that I want people to kind of to catch because it's an easy one to go by, but so you're just figuring it out at this point. Like, so had you found another job, like, after you got laid off or
no,
because that's a pretty low
I
point,
was
that
I was
sucks.
interviewing. I was interviewing for, places like Staples and Home Depot and someplace where I would have had to wear a colored
Good
vest.
jobs.
Yeah, I'd have to wear a colored
Mhm.
vest, maybe
Right.
to talk to people. And when I was doing the math, I was making more selling these juices at the barbershop than I would at any job because not only is it, a hand over fist margin because they were like little juicies. Trust me, they were like little
Mhm.
quarter waters that we would get from the corner store, and then I was getting like
Yep.
$4, 4.50 each for like 3, 4 ounces of juice. So
Mhm. Mhm.
you're talking like a $8 8 ounce. You're talking about like $1 an ounce I'm getting for these juices. And so the profit margin was good. They decided we're gonna open another barbershop, like, a few miles away. So I put another fridge in that barbershop. So now I got these two barbershops that I'm stocking and the juices are selling out. And I got a friend, my wife at this point, telling me, you need to come to New York and open this business because that's big here. They had Blueprint Cleanse and Juicery, and like all of these big companies.
Mhm.
We were basically competing with them in New York at the time because the juice cleanse fast, or juice fasting was really big. And when I was doing that in California, it was like right at the beginning of that stage, that industry. And so when I came, we were right shoulder to shoulder with a lot of the big guys, and we were taking market share. We had 10 stores in Brooklyn that we were servicing, and before we shut the doors at Juice Hugger, we were on track for 15 stores to stock with the juices. So I would come in at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and be making juices. We open at 10, and by like 8 o'clock, I had all the juices made up, and I was driving around Brooklyn delivering to the stores with crates of juices. Then I would come back. We would open the restaurant at 10, and I would be cooking meals until 6, 7 o'clock at night. Shut everything down, clean everything up, mop everything, and I'd get home at like 11 o'clock at night, sleep for a few hours, and I'd be back at the restaurant at 30 the next morning, 6 days a week. On the seventh day, I went to Jetro to shop for supplies. So I was working 7 days a week. The sixth day, the store was,
Yeah.
but I was inside stocking and prepping and putting up the napkins and making all the cutting vegetables and having everything ready for, when we open the next day. So it was brutal. And we did that for 3 years straight, no vacations until we took a vacation for 1 week. And the whole week, I couldn't think about nothing but the business because I left my employees. I had cameras set up. I'm looking, watching everybody like, what are you doing? You know,
And how many employees do you have at this point?
One, two, three, four, five, like six.
So 6 employees, and so from just
I had a
bringing juice.
cashier, two chefs, and four delivery guys on rotation, and that's before
Wow. Yep. So
or any of that. So I was paying them 100%. They were getting 100% of their tips. I wasn't taking none of it, so they was making money.
so I don't want to miss the opportunity for like the blueprint of how somebody goes from getting laid off,
Yeah,
now all of a sudden you're dealing with some health problems.
yeah,
So you make some positive lifestyle changes
yeah.
that results in you making some juice
Mhm.
that your barber really likes. And so all of a sudden you've got like, so you didn't work at a bottling company. You didn't have bottling experience. You didn't have culinary experience. It sounds like.
Nope, none.
I think a lot of us have cooking jobs as teenagers at some point, but
I'm a geek. I study. I'm a fast learner, and I have friends. I know someone who does everything. whatever it is, I know someone who probably does it. So I know chefs, and I was calling in friends who were
Yeah,
chefs when I right before I got my inspection for the restaurant. I called my chef's friends in and was like, okay, what temperature should my fridge be? What should this
yeah.
look like? What under the sink should look like? Where do I store things? What containers should I use? How late? When should I put the dates? What should all of this be?
So
Like, this
you
is
are
how you.
leveraging you were leveraging your resources that might not have necessarily been the things that were apparent to people because people will just immediately say, "Well, I don't know how to do that."
Right.
And you just said, "Well, let me figure this out.
Yeah,
There must be a way. I must know somebody that can answer this question for me, or if they don't know the answer, they can help me get the answer."
yeah,
And then, oh shit, I just found this small fridge, and oh look, the thing just pops out, and I can just have a friend of mine make this same exact thing just with my logo on it, and I'll just pop it right back in there, and now I look legit, right? And then
right.
now I'm putting it in a second spot, and then one
Yep.
foot in front of the other, you end up moving. It's
Yeah,
always for a woman, I feel like. Like,
yeah. Well,
I
I
I
mean,
I moved for a woman too, but it's just like there's probably no one maybe at that point that might have had more influence to be like, "You know what? You need to come out here."
yeah, it's gotta be a good one.
And it looks like the best decision you ever made. And I know we're jumping around a lot, but I think that part's interesting as well because there's a lot of people grow up wanting that. They want to be a musician or they want to be a star, they want to work in that industry. Even if they're not admitting to themselves that they want to be the star, they want to get
Yeah.
close to that industry. And I feel like no one kind of starts to get close to that industry without at least having some kind of hope that they're going to be um, um, out in front at some point. And so that's a really hard dream to or it's really hard for that dream to die for some people. So what
Yeah.
really we see examples of it all the time. And um I mean, you can still love a thing and not necessarily like have to do it. And you can still find ways to contribute and so forth, and still be yourself. But how did you come to the final conclusion for yourself that look, maybe this is not what I actually want? Because what a lot of people forget is they might think that that's what they want. They might see that shiny star and be attracted to it, but
Mhm.
they don't realize that that lifestyle to actually be that is not what they want. Um,
Well, yeah, for me, it was the 2 extremes of success in that particular industry. So if you're gonna be rapping and making beats and doing, basically, hip hop music, you could do voiceover and you can do music production. Those are kind of more like, behind the scenes. But if you're gonna be out in front, there's 2 extremes of success. One is just completely underground, where you put together your own tour dates, you come out with your own music, you go grow your own fans, and you travel over to Europe and Japan and all these places, and you do these little shows, and you live out of a bag for a couple of $1,000s a show, and you try to string all that together and come back for the season, and then next season you go and you do it again, and it's brutal. And it's hard to keep yourself together. It's hard to have a schedule. You're literally living out of a bag. Like, you may not have clean underwear. Like, it's just so many. I've seen that, the tour life.
mhm,
There's that. And the other part of success is actually becoming part of something, of an organization, getting signed to a label, having an agent, having a manager, having a team around you that's going to like build you, or signing like a 360 deal where you sign this deal, they give you a little upfront, then they own everything. Whether you do your faces on a lunchbox, you do a commercial, you do a show, you do an appearance, you show up somewhere to sign autographs, you come out with a liquor or a product or a makeup or anything, they own all of it.
mhm,
Those were 2 extremes that came about around the time when I was in the industry, and the music was changing as well too. What I was used to making wasn't necessarily what people wanted any longer. Or
mhm,
not that it wasn't what wanted. They wanted it. It was an industry for it, but the industry didn't want it. The industry wanted things that were easier to make, cost less to produce, and make, maximum income is all about the bottom line. So my positive messages and my skillful diatribes of rhyme structure and all of that
mhm,
stuff didn't necessarily matter anymore. It began to get into, auto tune and trap music and trap rap and material rap and degeneracy. And it wasn't something that I was willing to shift to. I could creatively, sure, I could switch to
mm,
that stuff, but it wasn't who I was, and so I didn't want to make either of those. I didn't want to like kill myself living out of a suitcase, and I didn't want to compromise what I believed in for getting involved in something bigger, because there's always a huge cost to be on the world stage. The world stage is going to cost you something, and I just didn't have what what was required. I wasn't willing to give at the
Mm,
time.
mm.
So I said, okay, I got other things that I know how to do. Let me just pivot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you found a good solid job as an auditor, and then that just kinda led you to health. Now, so we backtrack a little bit, so now you're getting ready to move to New York. So how did that transition go? Like, because you've started some roots in LA, you've
hmm
got some network, you've got, um is it called Juice Hugger yet?
Yeah, it's called Juice Hugger. Before I left LA, I called it Juice Hugger and had someone develop me a logo. Yeah.
Okay. So you have Juice Hugger, kinda people are at least looking for it there now. It's something that they're kind of getting used to seeing, and now you decide to go to the other side of the country.
hmm
Um, so how did you manage operations in both places, or did you just let it all come back to New York with you and then figure the rest out later?
Yeah, all came back to New York with me. I left everything
Hmm.
in LA. I wasn't stocking the shops anymore. I told everybody I was leaving, and they all gave me my, the good wishes, and a
Yeah.
cool send off. They were proud of the juices. There were a lot of celebrities. It was, Wood Harris and Cedric the Entertainer and a couple of other people that were able to like try the juices and drink them and give me their feedback. I got pictures, of them drinking my little juices and stuff. So it was a cool send off. I was doing like red carpets and walking up to celebrities like, "Here, it's my juice brand, all naturals, no preservatives. It's all fruits, this, that, and the other." And
Hmm.
yeah, it was going over really, really well. I met some really cool, famous celebrity people that I'm still in touch with on social media. They follow me and stuff like that. There was a couple of celebrities I tried to help before they passed away, and it was a little too little.
Ah.
But Bismarcky, I was in touch with him before he passed away. He had a copy of my book and he was trying to eat better. Fat Man Scoop.
Hmm.
Fat Man Scoop. I was talking to him back and forth for a while, and he bought some products and a couple by my books, and he was trying to make recipes and stuff, but he didn't necessarily make.
So on that note, we can kind of fast forward because our technical issues we've had have kind of eaten up some of our time, but and some user error, of course. But so we can fast forward to kind of more like now. We have a good kind of frame of how you at least ended up in New York. You had Juice Hugger. You guys ended up. How did the restaurant come to be? How did you go from making juices to now we have a cafe?
Well, now the restaurant, and when I first got to New York, we didn't have the cafe. I was making juices out of my kitchen at home. And
Right.
I had personal clients that would order juice from me, and they were in Boston. So I would make juices in New York, and I would pack up one of those big coffins, one of those big ice coffins that would it snap shut, and you fill it with ice, and it would keep juices cold for like you know 3 days or something like that. So I would do one of those. I
Hmm.
would I would pack it onto the bottom of the Fung Wah bus and head to New York on the Fung Wah bus for 24. Dad would pick me up in his Ford Explorer at South Station. I would load the coffins. I had two of them. I would load them on there with all the
Hmm.
from all people's orders, and I would take his truck and drive around Boston and Rosendale and Roxbury and you know um, any place that's Forest Hills, Mattapan, wherever I had to go, and drop the juices off for people. And we had a portal on the website, so you could order the juices. So money was coming in, and then I would pack it all up and I would head to Boston. I'd be like, I'm gonna be there this weekend, so get your orders in. They would get their orders in, and I would go dropping them off. And eventually, we found a storefront that was closed. The guy didn't know what he wanted to do. He owned it. It used to be an African restaurant. It had all kinds of equipment in it. They left
Mm.
abruptly, and he said, "Yeah, I'll lease it to you." My wife basically brokered the deal, and we had a lot of cleaning to do. He didn't expect for us to get it in shape because it was horrible. It was bad, and we
Mm.
that place like brand new. You could eat off of the floors by the time we were done with it, and and he was proud of it. He was like, "Wow, this is really nice." He was bringing people in, "Show see what they did to my building. Like this is."
Mm. Mm.
And We ramped it up and we were like, we got all this equipment. Let's make food too, because we had all the hot tables and we had like two stoves, like a 8 burner and a 6 burner, and we had the flue and the deep fryers. Everything was there. 2 sinks, one
Mhm.
kitchen, one for cooking. The place was huge. Had a bathroom, had a dining area, big fridges, walk-in fridges, everything. And I was like,
And now, so only asking to be useful for someone who might have dreams of opening a restaurant or a cafe or doing something like this. So was it just the juices that were financing all of this? Because okay, you got to realize you have all this stuff. You can I can imagine getting together the elbow grease of friends and so forth to be able to clean the place and all that kind of stuff,
mhm.
and that being a fun experience. But now, like, how do you stock the place, and how do you like? Okay, if you got to fry later, now you got to buy oil, and this is all that. So, like, is it just the sale of the juices
No,
that's
it's
financing
sale
this?
of the juices and friends and family. So I was able
Wow.
to
Okay.
get $25,000 by gathering it through friends and family. And I was able to turn that around and pay it back within about 2 years.
Wow.
And from there, it was on and popping from there. We were able to just like
Hmm.
put our nose to the grindstone, but it was mostly juices because the margin was really great for beverages. Beverages, are basically what make things go around, you know. Um and so the beverages were a big help. Beverages and food. Beverages and food were the greatest margins. But when you're talking about a restaurant, so much overhead that by the time
Right. Right.
you're not making a lot, but it was constant because we were busy, because we were very niche. And we had 2 things going on. We were producing juices and dropping them off at stores, wholesale because it was still pretty
Sure.
because the quality of the juices were fresh. And any juices that went bad, we would take them back. So we didn't want perishability. We wanted every single juice to sell. And I would only take back like 1 or 2 juices at a time. Mostly
Mm.
always sold. So we had that going, and then we also had the restaurant with people coming in to buy our food, and then we sold like snacks and stuff, prepackaged healthy snacks like Kind bars and that kind of stuff.
And that was this a vegan restaurant
Mostly,
right
we
away?
sold
Yeah.
right out the gate. We sold chicken breast, and we sold large wild caught prawns. So we had
Okay.
chicken and shrimp. Those were the 2 only things, and they were frozen, so they would come off
Hmm.
whole 'nother like grill and cooking setup for those things. Everything else was vegan. But we had like
Wow. Okay. But
come in that were transitioning. They weren't necessarily vegan, but they would eat a little bit of poultry and they would eat like some seafood. And we just had those 2 things to cater to them. But after a while, when
and then
Nick and I changed, we removed those things from the menu because we felt as though if we're not eating those things, I don't feel necessarily right serving them to people, whether that's their philosophy or not. If it's not mine, I would be serving it to them in a way, serving them something that I don't believe in, and that is necessarily
right.
doing that. So when I removed it, we ended up losing some customers. We lost some really good customers that's all they wanted was a chicken sandwich, or they wanted like a shrimp bowl or something. And when we said we don't have that, we have these vegan alternatives, they were like, nah, we're good. And we never heard from them again. So we had to sacrifice.
Yeah, but I feel like too many people kinda try to cater to too many people try to cater to too many people, right? And so that was probably at the same time, I would imagine, just allowed you guys to really double down on what you really did and what you did well and why you were there in the first place. And as you said, like, even just for you from an like, almost it sounds like from an ethical standpoint, you didn't feel comfortable, like, feeding things to people that you weren't willing to eat yourself,
Right. Right. That's true. That
right?
was around
I
the
mean,
time that Kelly.
who can't understand that? Yeah.
So it was convenient. It worked out that way, like Dr. Sebi's wife at the time, her name is Ma'a. They had just broke up,
Mhm.
and she would call the restaurant to order vegetable soup. But she would ask me, I'm sitting there working, and Kelly comes and brings me the phone. She's like, "Someone wants to talk to you," and I'm like busy. I'm trying to and I'm like, "Hello," and it's this woman with a little squeaky little voice, and she's asking me to remove the carrots and the peas from the vegetable soup. Now, a little
Mhm.
yeah, but I'm thinking, okay, but because the soup's already made, I used mixed vegetables, organic, mixed vegetables to make the soup.
Right.
And so I'm doing a soup and I'm like picking out the carrots and the peas from it and doing the best that I can. And I get it to her. 2 more days go by, the next day and the next day. So 3 days in a row now, she's calling me on the phone. She wants me to pick the carrots and the peas out of soup. So her son comes to pick up the order, and I'm like, "What's the deal with the carrots and the peas? Like, is he allergic? Like, what's going on?" He was like, "Well, no," he explained, "My father's name is Dr. Sebi, and, we only eat least detrimental foods, and, we stay away from non-hybrids, and carrots and peas are hybrids, and they're starch-based." And I was like, "Really?" I'm learning something. And he's like, "Yeah, go to the website and look at the detrimental foods, download the list, this, that, and the other." Well, I went to the website, and at the time, Dr. Sabi and Ma'a were splitting. And there was a message on the site that said, "Dr. Sabi's products are no longer offered here. If you want access to his products, call this number and get on the mailing list." So at the time, it wasn't all internet savvy. I called the number, left a message on the voicemail or on the answering machine and with my address, and they mailed me a copy of his list of products and a nutritional guide of least detrimental foods. Well, I took that and I put it on the fridge and I started trying to cook for
And
it.
so
Was around the time when Kelly got
who
sick.
so who is Dr. Sebi for a lot of people that wouldn't know? I know who Dr. Sebi is, but I really feel like a lot of people that might stumble upon this video or watch this video might not know who he is.
Yeah.
So it's probably tough to give like a summation of who someone like him is, but if he can do that real quick, that'd be great.
Pretty easy. I mean, he was an herbalist. He was an herbal healer, basically, who practiced what we know from, the 1800s as eclectic medicine. So,
Mhm.
the medicinal practitioners didn't believe in opening the body. They didn't believe in chemical medicine, bloodletting, operations, sutures, those kinds of things. Everything that the body needs for healing can be offered by nature. Basically, that was basically his philosophy, and he found
Mhm.
something called the Usha Research Center, where it was him and other scholars would get together and they would do research on what herbs did what I was talking about earlier, which is ethnobotany and the study of how different cultures use different herbal plants for healing and maintenance. And so that's what he was. He was able to cure things like cancer, like herpes, like AIDS, like, rheumatoid arthritis, like glaucoma.
Hmm.
He was able to cure a lot of these things by basically showing people how to cleanse and detoxify their system in a way where the body can then take over the healing process and finish the job basically. So regenerate
Mhm.
like specific, organs and tissues and cells that regenerate themselves once you're able to clear away what's preventing the body from thriving in the first place.
And he was prolific and very well known, world renowned, really.
Yeah.
Um, and he was, or his wife anyway, or now ex-wife was a customer of your restaurant.
Right, right. So when she called,
That's
I
pretty
was
cool. That's
I didn't know who he was. His son basically told me who he was. I looked him up, and then I started to see a lot of what he was about, see his videos and, and that kind of thing. And when Kelly got sick, she fainted one day, and it was as a result of leaky gut. She was really thin, her skin was discolored, she wasn't absorbing any minerals, she was very mineral deficient. And we took a test. We took like a mineral deficiency test, and like her minerals were low. Her digestive system wasn't working well, and I basically threw everything out and started cooking from Dr. Sabi's nutritional guide. And in 7 days, she started to get her color back, started to get her energy back, started to gain her weight back, started to look healthy again.
hmm.
And 7 days was really what it took to begin the process of healing her gut by removing those foods, the soy and the different processed foods that we were eating at the restaurant, and just change to less detrimental foods. I mean, 7 days was the turnaround. And from there, what I had did was I documented everything that we ate that day because I was doing it too. Everything she ate, I ate. And so for 7 days,
Mhm.
documented everything we ate. Anytime we put anything on our mouth, it went down on a piece of paper. And later on, I was in a Dr. Sebi group trying to learn more about the lifestyle and how to heal and stuff. And I told people in this Facebook group that I documented everything and that my wife was healed and she looks great again, showed pictures of her. And they were like, "Well, we want that. What did you do?" And once I started to try to explain, they were like, "Well, can you put it together and, like write a book, put it together." And I took a class on how to write a book because this girl
Mhm.
you, this is how the structure of how you write your book, get your idea down and ask these questions. Once you answer these questions, it'll develop the structure for your book. So I took everything that we did, developed a structure for a book. We found a printer. We got it printed, glossy, full page, everything. And when we told people that the book was available and that we had it, we ended up selling 300 copies in about 2, 3 weeks.
Wow.
Flew off because this was the beginning of the Dr. Sebi Alkaline Eclectic or Alkaline community at the time. No one
Mhm.
doing it. There were
Mhm.
no structures. There were no courses. There were no cookbooks. There was none of that. We were some of the first people. Us and Ty's Conscious Kitchen were two of the only people that were doing like alkaline recipe cookbooks at the time, and a few others sprinkled around, but they didn't have books. They just would post recipes. And so when we came out with the book, it was the Mucus Free Food Detox was our first book.
Mhm.
We
Yep.
it took off, and that started everything. We were like, well, wow, the book took off. Maybe we should start do some classes, some cooking classes. We should come out with some products, maybe sell some herbs that people are having a hard time figuring out. Which herbs do Dr. Sebi use? What's non-hybrid? What's hybrid? So we started compiling lists of the herbs and started offering those as things to sell. And one thing led to another, to the point where,
So
this is what we help people do.
how d how does somebody get leaky gut?
Through eating foods that can tear holes in the gut lining, um or damaged gut flora and throwing off the pH balance of your stomach with things like, say, alkaline water. Like the alkaline water from the machine, I think that contributed to her leaky gut because we had a
Really?
machine. And what the alkaline machine does is it raises the pH of the water, but it does so through the water running across these electric plates. The electric plates give the water a negative charge with negative ions so that it can raise the pH, but it raises that pH without the minerals that actually support the raising of the pH. The pH in water is raised by trace minerals, your potassium, your calcium. These
Hmm.
aren't present with an alkaline machine. It's just an electric plate electrifying the water. So you're drinking electric water where the pH is changed through electrolysis, but the minerals that support that change are not present. So you don't have those minerals. So now you're just changing the pH in your stomach without the minerals to support it, and it's throwing off your gut flora and your gut bacteria. Leaky gut.
So when I feel like I'm doing a really good thing, when I go to the store and I buy smart water with the black top on it, the alkaline one, like I'm
Well,
possibly maybe hurting myself more than
no, because that one is a little bit different. That has the trace minerals in it. But the caveat to
okay.
that is those trace minerals are oxide minerals. Those are oxide minerals, meaning they come from rock. You know what I mean?
Okay.
There's the iron that, like, you see people with the magnet and they get the iron filings out of their cereal. They're like, you see iron in here. It's
Mhm.
oxide iron
Wow.
sticks to the magnet. That's a rock. You're not going to be able to absorb the minerals from that kind of iron. You need iron fluorine, which has been converted by the earth and plant life into a liquid digestible form. That's the iron that you can absorb. It will assimilate with your body.
Okay.
But the metal iron is an oxide, and to say it's like rust is an oxide. That kind of iron your body is not going to absorb. So what happens is when you drink the oxide minerals, your body will absorb some of it, but it's not going to necessarily assimilate to the point of mass assimilation for maximum benefit. So you can get iron pills, or you can eat sarsaparilla tea. You know what I mean? The sarsaparilla has extracted the iron from the earth, converted it into a digestible form for you, and locked it into the roots of the sarsaparilla plant. When you boil the sarsaparilla plant, the longer, the stronger. The more you boil it, it's water soluble, and those nutrients, those properties are going to come out of the plant and be infused in the water. Whereas when they take the powdered iron or calcium or whatever and they add it to your water and they dissolve it into the water, it's still dissolved solids and in particles. It's not necessarily going to assimilate with your body. It'll be absorbed in through glands, but it's not going to necessarily assimilate like the iron that came from the sarsaparilla that converted it specifically for your absorption, for plants, animals, and humans, absorption and assimilation.
So it's just marketing,
It's
right? Like that's like the yeah, yeah. And they
oh,
understand that that's become kind of a buzzword.
yeah, Flintstones chew
I feel like leaky gut is something that everyone is probably dealing with on some level.
or has, yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like
Yeah.
Flintstones chewables versus elderberry tea. You know, your child is gonna
Hmm.
get a lot more antioxidants if you gave them elderberry tea and boost their immune system rather than Flintstones chewables, which are these chalky tablets with oxide minerals in them, glycerin, preservatives, and sugar and colors. But
Right. They're able to add it to the ingredient
they're able
list,
to give that.
but it's not actually doing the thing that
They
it's
say
supposed to
doctor
do.
recommended and FDA child approved, and they'll have all those things on the labels, but it's not true. It's not even close to being.
Right.
It's sugar, coloring, chalk, oxide minerals, and your kid chews it up, and they don't get anything out of it. It tastes good to them, and they love doing it. You
Yeah.
think you're doing something good for them, but it's no match
Mm.
for a cup of elderberry tea or a cup of sarsaparilla tea.
So we're just going around being duped all the time, thinking that we're eating better when we're just getting further away really from the goal that we're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
Now, so as we talked about a little bit ago, which I don't think ended up being recorded, is like this whole alkaline lifestyle. So I mean, this sounds like a complete overhaul of what's in my kitchen cabinet in terms of like what I eat on a day to day basis. So a lot of people might really love the idea of a lot of the different concepts
Mhm,
and really want to get on board with it,
mhm.
but there's so much friction just in the idea of having to buy different things at the grocery store when they're used to buying um, Apple Jacks, or if they're their kids are hungry and they're hungry themselves. They've had a long day, busy day, and shit, let me just get a double cheeseburger.
Right.
Um, so how does someone start to actually make meaningful changes
Mhm.
in their diet or their lifestyle in a way that can start to lead them down the right path rather than have them get super intimidated or just kind of lost in all of the new information and different kinds of food? And I wasn't supposed to have this, but I had this,
Mm,
and so forth. So where can someone start to actually know that they're doing the right thing
yeah.
versus just doing what it says on a label?
Yeah. Well, we developed something called Easy Alkaline Swaps. That's a free guide that I basically give people that will help you go through the most detrimental foods to swap out, basically. And it doesn't
Okay.
be like a complete, overwhelming overhaul. Because as I say, you don't have to change the menu, just change the ingredients. So instead of sweet potato, which is very starchy, grows under the ground, can, absorb heavy metals and things in the soil, agricultural contaminants in the soil, you would go for cabacha squash, which grows above the ground. It looks like a green pumpkin. It's orange on the inside, just like sweet potato, has more beta carotene, has more minerals, has less calories, has less starch, and tastes exactly the same. It's sweet. You can make you can make a what I call a sweet no tato pie out of it. You can make it,
I saw that
like,
once. Yeah,
cut up
I laughed.
potato fries out of it. You can make mash. You can do all of the same things that you do with sweet potato with that one switch reduces your sugar, your starch, your calories, easier on the digestive. Sweet potato doesn't digest very well in the small intestines, whereas kabacha squash does. And it's a native plant. It's not a hybrid.
I thought sweet potato was great for you.
That's what they'll tell you, because it has
Yeah.
carotene, but there's more beta carotene in the kabacha squash, less calories, less sugar, less starch in the kabacha squash. So the concept of alkaline is least detrimental foods. The nutritional guide is not a list of alkaline foods that reach an alkaline pH. It's a list of least detrimental foods, meaning good, better, best, never let it rest until my good is better,
Hmm.
my better, best. So if you're going to change things out, if kabacha squash is the change out for you're lowering your starch, your sugar, your calories, and improving digestion with that one switch, what about white potatoes? White potatoes, you switch those out for burro bananas. Green boro bananas have the same feel, the same texture, the same friability. You can make fries, home fries, hash, all of the things that you can do with regular white potatoes, you could do with boro bananas. And I do. I use boro bananas. It's not starchy.
Are they sweet though? Are they sweet?
They,
And where does one buy burro
and they
bananas?
become sweet. Anywhere, I always tell people for alkaline foods or most of the foods that are on the nutritional guide, look for the Mexicans in your community. They're everywhere.
Huh.
Mexicans are every major
Mm,
city. There's a Mexican community, and they do not go anywhere without their food. They do not go
mm,
without their food. Find out where the Mexicans shop and shop there. You'll find chayote, you'll find cabacha squash, you'll find burro bananas, you'll find nopales, you'll find the nopales cactus, you'll find seeded grapes, you'll find culantro, not cilantro, but culantro, which in Jamaica they call shadow benny. It's a green that they chop up for like seasonings. They chop it up in their seasonings. Um, you'll find really big zucchinis. You'll find coconuts that you could crack open anywhere
mhm,
where Latin foods are sold, you're more than likely find these things. You'll find watercress and purslane and all the greens that you normally don't find anywhere. Um, so yeah, always say shop where Latin communities shop, and you'll find a lot of these
mhm,
that come in from Ecuador, Mexico, Nicaragua. A lot of those fruits and vegetables coming from there all the time, nonstop. They're non-hybrid. They're a native plant. They're not. They're not. They're not using like the heavy pesticides on them. They're not GMO'd, and they're just coming from a lot of these places where these foods grow in abundance because those foods were brought by Africans. Those foods were brought by the Incas and the Mayans and the Aztecs and the Olmecs. Those are all native plants to mostly like North and South America, and that's why they're least detrimental. They can't make the agricultural uh, uh, industry a lot of money, so they don't mess with them. That's why they come from
mhm.
these poor countries where, chayote probably grows so abundantly, they harvest it and they bring it here and they sell it to the Latin stores and Latin communities. But you don't necessarily see it in Whole Foods or Sprouts or Wegmans or Stop and Shop or Ames or, any of these places. You find them in the Latin and Caribbean markets because
In the specialty places, right?
culturally that's what they eat. And it's cheaper food, it's not abundant, and they're not GMOing it because there's not a lot of money to be made on it mainstream. They're not gonna get a lot of from it in Whole Foods. Like, if you go to Whole Foods, some Whole Foods may have, like, this little section with tropical fruits. They may have some guavas and, like, a couple of coconuts and maybe a soursop, you know, from the Caribbean,
Well,
star fruits, and that's it. That's what you're gonna get in terms of Caribbean and tropical fruits at Whole Foods.
there's such a plethora of fruits and vegetables that people don't even realize exist. They have no concept of,
Yeah.
and that's just because we're just conditioned to what's in our grocery stores and what we've always made with them, and what our parents made for us, and so forth. So it's a good idea to look for these smaller specialty shops, the Latin shops, the Caribbean shops
Asian market,
that are.
yeah, like H
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah,
that.
H Mart and Bravo and Ideal Foods if you're in New York, Key Foods if you're in New York. Sprouts sometimes has really good tropical stuff. Seasonally, Sprouts will have like seeded watermelons and stuff until they go out of season. Seeded water.
But some people might be a little intimidated by that, even just because if they're buying a soursop and they've never done anything with it before, like, do you suggest they just buy it and cut it, bring it home, cut it open and eat
I
it?
would do as much
Or,
research as
uh,
possible. I would look it up and try to find out if anyone's ever made a video on how to pick a ripe soursop. It should be a little soft. If they're too hard, it's not ready yet. If it's soft and fragrant, like it smells sweet, you could tell it's ready to open. It's soft to touch,
mhm, mhm.
but still green on the outside, that's perfect. And you want to just bust that out, just break it open in half and then just eat it. There's a lot of seeds, but and that's why I have Easy Alkaline Swaps. I have the Easy Alkaline Kitchen System, which is an entire system that I put together that shows you what to buy, how to prep it, how to put everything together in your containers, how to build meals from it, and how to
Mm.
heat your food and heat it with you while you're on the go with a what I call the Hot Logic, which is a portable personal oven that you carry with you that you can put your food, your meals in a heat
Oh, wow.
165 degrees Fahrenheit, and keeps it hot all day until you're ready to eat. So it's a whole system.
Wow. Okay. And so, yeah.
Easy
Wow.
my kitchen system. And then after that, I also have my Cooking with Crush series, which is a 4-part series where I show you how to do like meat replacements, baked goods, desserts, sauces, and put everything together so that now you can use the Easy Alkaline Kitchen system, the Hot Logic system, excuse me, and then my series that shows you how to do all of those other components so you can put it all together and you're good to go. Like people who've gone through the system, they cook on Sundays, prep everything down, and then they're just ready to go. Them and the family just take things, put it in the Hot Logic, take
Yep.
it with you, plug it in under your desk or in the car. It heats up, and your food is ready when you're ready to eat, any time of day that is.
Yeah. Because it's going to take some time for like meal prep to be able to do all of that, and then so you've got all the
It's
resources for someone.
60 minutes on Sunday, and you're good for the week.
Wow. Okay. And you've got all that kind of boiled down in these books. So you've got the guide of the easy
Yep,
swaps, the easy alkaline
yep,
swaps, and then you've got the resources that people can just take things incrementally as they start to get comfortable with it.
yeah,
Because I think a lot of people are chasing illnesses that they're going to their doctor for, they're getting medicated, they're taking laundry lists of different medications
yeah,
to fix physical ailments or mental
yeah,
ailments or just poor energy and poor mood. And they're just trying to fix it by piling more things on top.
yeah,
When I think one thing that people miss, and I certainly missed for a long time, is that a lot of times the biggest changes come from removing something versus adding something
yep.
else to fix what's
People
happening.
always ask
Um,
take for this or what do I take for that? And, and a lot of times I say to them, it's more important, what you remove rather than what you
mm,
add. If you were to remove the sugar,
well,
the starch, the acid foods, the alcohol, in some cases, fermented foods, depending on what kind of fermentation we're talking about, whether it's wine or, alcohols and stuff like that. If you were to remove those things and hydrate optimally, you would see how many things turn around from digestion to, joint pain to arthritis to brain fog. A lot of those things just completely go away, and, we right now we offer something called the X39 stem cell activation patch. I had sent that to you a while back. And what that does is it stimulates your dormant stem cells to the point where your body behaves like a younger person, basically. That it's almost like, when you're trying to turn your health around, when someone's suffering from something, some sort of ailment, arthritis, whatever it may be, um, I tell them it's not like doing a U-turn in a two-seater. It's like doing a U-turn
right.
in an 18-wheeler. You gotta like really
Yeah.
wheel that thing around. And while you're making that big, long, wide, time-consuming turn, you're gonna still be suffering from these things. It's not gonna stop.
Hmm. Hmm.
You're gonna have to stick it out while you make that turn in order before you can see the results from it, before you could get the relief from it. That was one of the why
Hmm.
we implemented the patches, because in the meantime, while you're making that turn, you will feel some relief almost immediately. Like you're waking
Right. Right.
stem cells. So the body is like, oh, you're giving me young stem cells, or you're stimulating the stem cell production again. Well, let me produce some of those stem cells that produce things for you. Now you're like, oh wow, I feel better. I feel some clarity. Wow, I slept really good last night. Man, you know what? I didn't have a craving for such and such. I usually have a bacon, egg, and cheese at this time in the morning. Or you know what? I had
Yeah.
energy. I'm usually knocked out by now. It's 8 o'clock, 8:30, and I'm still going strong. I don't even feel tired. I didn't even know it was so late. That's what the patches do. And that helps when someone is on a path saying, okay, I'm trying to do this reset. I'm going to eat these soups and I'm going to drink these juices and make smoothies and drink these teas. And I'm going to practice this and I'm not going to eat anything past 7 o'clock and I'm not going to have anything before 11. I'm going to do the lime water and ginger in the morning on an empty stomach. And I'm going to do all these things. Usually while they're doing that, they have these things calling them. I want these chips. I need something salty. I want something sweet.
Right.
But when you're doing it
Or just the I'm super busy. I just got out of that meeting late. I've got to get to this next meeting. I need to eat something. I just drove by
you
McDonald's.
combine all of those things. You combine the easy swaps, easy alkaline kitchen system, using the patches, doing the rapid reset with the soups, the juices, the smoothies. You're taking your supplements. You're doing
Hmm.
everything. You're taking your CMOS powder. in the morning, adding it to some hemp milk or something so that you get all your minerals. Now you're on this path that makes it feel easier. These things aren't calling you as hard anymore. Like the further and further away you can separate yourself from these detrimental and addictive behaviors, the easier it gets to go longer without them. And then when you go back, it
Hmm.
hits you so hard that you suffer from the return to it so much that you say, "Ah, this is why I got away from that." And then you get to go further.
Hmm.
Then maybe you may have an ice cream somewhere and then you oh, bubble guts. This is why I gave up on that. And you go a little further. Then maybe you come back and you have some Swedish fish or something for Halloween. It's like, oh man, this is why I stopped that. And you get a little further. So the backtrack, the 2 steps back, helps you with the 3 steps forward because you realize why you're doing this. Because once your body gets a little bit clear from it and you revisit it, it hits you so hard that it's not comfortable anymore. The taste is good, the nostalgia is good, the memory is good, but the response that your body has is no longer something you're going to desire.
Well, yeah, once you finally wean yourself off of it, when you reintroduce it, it's not going to take a lot to really showcase, bang, like this is what this was actually doing to you, compounded.
Yeah.
Um, so once people start to actually make the change and feel better, they make that slip, and then they're like, "Oh shit, this is
Yeah. This
actually
is why.
wow."
Yeah. You know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not perfect with my diet and my lifestyle, but I stopped drinking alcohol last year for about a 6 month period, and then I started drinking again casually. And beginning of this year, I said no more, done. I'm just done.
Yeah.
And everyone, when I had stopped that first time, everyone said, "Oh, how much better do you feel? You must feel so much better," and this and that. And I was like, "Yeah, okay. Like maybe I feel a little different. I guess, and maybe I'm a little more clear headed."
Yeah.
But this time, I noticed a huge difference. And I think that on again, off again, there's a lot to be said for that in either direction.
Yeah.
Because sometimes too, it's like if someone might slip from the diet and then they get back from the lifestyle, they get back to maybe stopping at Dunkin' Donuts every morning or whatever it might be, and they get back into some of that old routine. And if they are able to catch themselves and get back on the bandwagon, I feel like they're really gonna notice it that much more. Like, wow,
Yeah.
okay, because you get that real comparison.
Yeah, you get to go back and
Um,
forth a couple of times to really experience and compare and contrast, what each, thing is like.
right, right. Well, because also when you're reintroducing it too, it's the circumstances are a little bit different. So when you do have that cheeseburger for lunch that you haven't had for a while, that's when you really say, "Oh man, I feel like junk. Like,
Right.
let me take a nap."
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Um, so I know we're kind of running a little bit short on time, but I appreciate all your patience. So if someone is still listening to all this and they see your tools, and I'll link to your tools in the show notes and that kind of stuff to your website and whatnot. Um, but I'll give you a chance to actually tell people where they can find you as well if they don't already know.
Well,
But so if someone's listening to all this and they're like, "This all sounds really great, and I admire people who can do these kinds of things. Maybe one day I'll give it a shot." Like, is there like if they're kind of averse or resistant to taking on so many lifestyle changes, are there any simple tools that I guess I wouldn't call hacks, but are things that people can implement in a simple way that are going to make a noticeable difference?
yeah. Yeah, just, basically what we mentioned. The first thing would be to start with a few things. So I would get the easy alkaline swaps and look at what some of the most detrimental foods are and just go lesser detriment.
And I guess so they can like so I love sweet potatoes. Like we actually, in fact, since just making some adjustments in the way we eat in my home,
Mhm.
we've been eating a lot more sweet potatoes. That's why actually I pulled that out. I'm like, shit, I've been really enjoying these sweet potatoes
Yeah,
for dinner. And so rather than just look at the list and read the list, I guess the idea is to think about the things that you're actually eating a lot or that are part of your lifestyle now.
right.
And you're going to look for those on that list to see what the most
Well, the easy
what the comparable thing is going to be.
easy swaps list is not the full list of least detrimental foods. It's the most common
Hmm.
that people usually eat that if they swap those out, they would significantly reduce the toxic load that food residue leaves behind. And so sweet potatoes is one, potatoes is one, rice is one, um, certain things like, what else is a good replacement? Um, spinach is one. I would replace that with
Mm.
water
Really?
or kale or dandelion. Um, just because of the difference is that with spinach, I don't know if you've ever seen spinach in the bag. If you leave it in the bag and it starts to spoil, it creates this mucousy brown liquid.
Yes.
Whereas
Gets slimy. Yeah. Yeah.
kale, you don't get that slime. That's the mucus causing. With kale, it just turns almost turns white. Like the leaves just start to turn a light color, and it just starts to like almost lose all of its chlorophyll, basically. And those are the two differences between what they're doing within the body. So one is not causing mucus, and one is causing mucus. Spinach is very mucusy, very mucus causing, very
Hmm.
weak and wilty. It doesn't have a lot of structural integrity for you. It just disintegrates into mush. Whereas dandelion,
So it's not going to make you strong like Popeye?
nah, nah, that was
No.
by created by agricultural lobbyists, and because they
Mm.
sell spinach. Like you find these things out
Yeah.
on, yeah, and it's weak. Whereas watercress is better, dandelion is better, kale is better, purslane is better. Uh, Even like mustard greens or turnip greens, all of these greens are a lot more nutritious. They hold a lot more chlorophyll. They get a lot more nutrients out of the ground. Spinach doesn't even grow 12 inches under the ground anymore. Everything is like
Mm.
beans now, which they're not growing down into the soil, and a lot of it is hydroponic. So they're actually feeding those same oxide minerals that we are talking about. They're basically feeding the plants
Mm.
oxide minerals,
Ah.
which is okay because the plants take those oxide minerals with digestible form for you. So that's fine. Hydroponics is nothing really wrong with that. It's just that there's more of a diverse balance of those minerals from soil than from you just dumping them into water and then being quickly absorbed by the roots. So nature has
Right.
it has its checks and balances, and when we avoid them and we bypass
Hmm.
them, we lose things. Like acupuncture is great, but acupuncture is basically bypassing the nervous system and, bypassing this part of the nervous system and plugging in, jumping over and plugging into neurons over here and bypassing the flow of energy so that you can get to the point where there's no more pain or that you can release tension
Hmm.
but there's a pathway that you just skipped over by hitting certain pressure points, and that was one of the reasons why Dr. Sebi didn't believe in that, or in colonics, where you're forcing water up and through past the duodenum and flooding those toxins back up into the system in order for them to swirl and come back out again, whereas the direct
Yeah.
digestion should really go one direction, not in and back out or in and back out.
Yeah.
So nature has its own flow, its own way. And a lot of times we want a shortcut because the cumulative behavior that got us here has now accumulated to where now there's more of a sense of urgency to get rid of this thing. So we want a sense of a way to urgently get rid of it. And we didn't get it urgently, and easily getting rid of it naturally is not going to be urgent either. So that's the thing.
Mm.
Wheeler that I'm always, that I'm talking about, where it's going to take time to turn it around.
Right.
If you want a shortcut for relief of symptoms, the patches that stimulate stem cell activity is the quickest way that I can think of that's natural, no chemicals, no stimulants, non transdermal, nothing comes from the patch and goes into the body. It's only light therapy, which is called biophotomodulation, and it's been around since the ancient Egyptians. They were poking a hole in a chamber and they'll put you in there and put a certain body part to where the light would hit it, and light therapy would remove things like tuberculosis or heal organs or heal wounds and that kind of thing. So
Well, that's what I find to be so compelling about a lot of this is that so many of these practices, whether we're talking about light therapy, as you just gave the example of, or meditation, or whatever you're talking about, that has just been called woo woo for so long, or just people try to discredit it or act like it's bullshit.
yeah,
There's a reason why people have done these things for thousands and thousands and thousands of years,
yeah,
and it's not because they don't work,
right,
right? So um, it's interesting to see a lot of these conversations be started again, and people act like these are revelations and new information. And it's just kind of funny how information is cyclical, also, right? But kudos of people like yourself who are bringing this information to the forefront. I mean, this was years and years ago, but I remember you saying something about how how it felt to see like see so many people that are sick or in trouble or not living to their best or really um, dealing with so many illnesses, and you have the cure. Basically, you have um, the thing that's going to help them,
Yeah,
and everyone just keeps rejecting it as if you're
yeah,
um, um, you know holding some kind of joke or something, and people are asking for their problem to be fixed, and you have the solution, and they just don't want to hear what the actual solution is.
yeah.
You know,
That happens.
but
You know,
people need to hear it.
yeah, they do. That happens,
Hmm.
and sometimes it takes being near crisis, or being so uncomfortable or feeling symptoms that are so heavy that you just can't deal with it anymore, and you really don't have a choice. And sometimes that becomes
Well, and that's the unfortunate part. Sorry, but that's the unfortunate part of, even you said like Biz Marquee is reaching out to you, and it's just it's kind of too little, too late. There's only so much you can do when somebody's already in that hallway,
yeah.
about to knock on death's door, right? So it's like it really needs to be a lifestyle shift before you start to see these major issues
Same thing with
start to take hold. Because
Fat Man Scoop. Like he tried and he was eating better, and he had some gangrene, like he almost lost his toes, and that kind of stuff. And he healed from it, and he did really well. But because his schedule was so intense with running around and trying to tour and trying to eat right on tour, I think for energy, he was doing energy drinks and stuff like that. And I think he was doing these like Snoop Dogg energy drinks at the time, because I think, his promotion, they probably got like a few cases of them from Snoop for free. And that was one of the last things that he had before he died. He died on stage performing. I don't know if you remember that, but
mm,
performing,
mm, mm, mm.
he collapsed behind the turntables and never got back up. They rushed back there, started giving them, administering and stuff, and he got to the hospital and he was there for a little while and he passed away. So that was it.
Wow,
Died right there
wow.
on stage doing what he loved, which is, bittersweet. But he wasn't that old, it didn't necessarily have to happen.
It shouldn't have been his time yet. Shouldn't have been his time yet, right?
It should-
Um, well, Crush, I mean, you've honestly always been such a solid dude. I mean, it was probably 15 or 16 years ago that found you. I don't even remember exactly how, on Facebook,
Mhm.
because of Juice Hugger, and I've followed you ever since, and it's been inspiring and informing to watch you go through the many steps I've seen you take since then.
Yeah.
Because for the fact of how you started things, your different businesses and how you have evolved them, I've taken that example of just figuring it out,
Mm.
right? Leveraging your resources and just seeing what things are in front of you that you can actually put together to make something out of. And
Mhm.
I appreciate all the encouragement you've always given me and everything. And certainly grateful to have you on here, and be patient as I try to figure out these issues we've had. But I think ultimately this has been a great conversation. But so I have one little kind of tradition, I suppose, that we started. So basically, it's not necessarily a question, but it's so the last guest is kind of write down like either a piece of advice or a concept that they live by,
Mhm.
that the next guest can either expand on or maybe disagree with, or maybe put into different words, or what have you. So that person wrote, um, oh wow, this isn't what I expected this guy to write, actually. So every child is an artist. The issue is how to remain as one as we grow up.
Mm.
So we haven't talked about art much. We've talked about your music, but I mean, so much of what you talked about, I can see the through line.
Yes.
But where does that take you?
I would say to always exercise, your method of creativity, whatever it is that creativity is to you, whatever that has been in your life, that you need to always revisit that so that you don't lose, whatever it is, part of artistry that is you. And for me,
Mhm.
always been cooking and combining flavors and, making food look good and plating, that kind of thing. For me is my art. Composition to me is my art, so that when I'm done with it, I can look at it and say, "Ah, I did that," and kind of capture that
Yeah.
time and then move on and do another one and do another one and do another one. I mean, it used to be graffiti, it used to be painting, it used to be drawing characters, it used to be making music, making raps, making beats. Um, but at this point in my life, it's food and like visual recording and visual editing. I do a lot of video and a lot of editing and a lot of creation behind the scenes. I do things for other people that you don't get to see, like on my social.
Mhm.
So I do like, ads for beverages and for different things. Like my wife is starting to do it now too. She's doing like the trampoline and, different kinds of tools that go with
Mhm.
healthy lifestyle and healthy living. But like I said, I think whatever it is that makes you creative, they always revisit it. Always revisit, and I don't mean the modality. I just mean the thought process that makes you creative.
Yeah.
Whether it's drawing
Yep.
or making music or, making anything whatsoever, whatever the thought process is, the curiosity that makes you think, I wonder what it would be like if I did XYZ, or if I put this on top of here, or if I put that there. You gotta always
Mhm.
that, and if you do, you'll never lose your artistry, your creative juices. It may move to a different modality, but that creativity, that artistry will just never dies.
That's kind of where it brings me, is like always be willing to try things,
Yeah,
right? Because kids aren't scared to try things. They're not beating themselves up if they don't do something, to the level of a professional or something. They're just doing it because they're interested in doing it, and they just want to keep doing it.
right.
Um, and so much of us get caught up in like just that, without letting ourselves be free to try things and to fail and to
Yeah,
maybe not like something.
yeah.
So I'm sure there's been things you've made in your kitchen that you tried and you're like, oh yeah, okay, that's not going on the bun,
No, absolutely.
you know.
Yes,
But
exactly. Tons, tons. You would be surprised. A lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. There's a lot
hmm
trial and error and trying to figure out which flours to use or which ones combine well because there's no books on it. Alkaline cooking, there
hmm
is no such thing. So, the
mm
fact that I don't use yeast or any kind of riser for my baked goods, that I use sparkling water, it requires a technique
hmm
that you're not gonna learn in culinary school. You can go to culinary school all you want. They're gonna tell you use baking soda and baking powder to make things rise. So if you want them to rise
yeah.
without using yeast, that's not good for your gut and your small intestines, there's another technique you're gonna have to use. And there's combinations of things you're gonna have to put together that there's absolutely no way that you could guess your way through it. You have to know it, or you gotta come to somebody like me who's done it. The
mm.
only
Who's just tried it, and you just through trial and error, you've figured so many of these things out.
Yeah, and when I show people my stuff and I'm like, "I didn't use any yeast or butter or milk or sugar or this or that," and they're like, "How the hell did you get it to look like that? How did you get it to taste like that?" And once they see my
Mm.
recipe and they try it, people are like, "Man, I've been using your recipes for years. I love to make your fill in the blank, or I made your such and such the other day and it came out great. My aunt loved it." And but it's cerebral. A lot of folks don't want to go in the kitchen and cook. They want to order, Blue Apron or Factor, or you know what I mean? They want to
Right.
come to them and they peel off the thing, put it in a heat box, and it comes out and they're ready. They
hmm
don't want to have to worry about the nuances and the flavors and which seasonings and how much water and how much the ingredients and what measurements and how long is it supposed to cook.
Yeah.
What if I don't do it right and it came out wrong? I just wasted all that food and all that money. You know, um, you got to be a little brave.
Yeah. Right. Right. And just be kind of willing to try it, willing to fail, willing to try again.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
right. I mean, usually when I do something, I'm like, this didn't come out right. I feel like if I did XYZ next time, it'd be good. And then I'll do it again. And if it doesn't come out all the way right, I'd be like, you know what? One last thing. If I did this, it would probably come out perfect. And by the third or fourth time,
Yeah, there's iteration, and that's something I've been talking about a lot lately too. And that I've even just found in this project with the podcast is just, I could try all I want to be perfect when I start,
mhm,
but I'm not going to start to learn what I need to know until I start and actually get moving, and then find where I can change things and that kind of thing. So
yeah.
really, very much the same thing. Um, Last thing I want to ask is there something you wish that we would have talked about, or that you just want to make sure that you kind of get out for people that
No, I think we covered it.
because actually I've seen you on a lot of podcasts lately, so I don't know. Like it looks like you've been on a bunch of them. You're starting to be a hot ticket.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, folks are asking to talk. I can't think of anything that we missed. We were pretty thorough. I mean, the story, there's so much that I could cover. I could literally dump info.
well, really, I mean, I feel like there's so many different directions we could take this conversation on, and we could go um, uh, another couple hours if we had the time. But I'd love to have you on again
Yeah,
and talk about because there's just so much to cover here, and so much that I want to know, and I think so much that is valuable and useful for the
Well,
listener.
I
So,
think the fact that
but
we've simplified and somewhat institutionalized alkaline healing in the eclectic code of principles in our book, The Alkaline Eclectic, the new standard of healthy living. Easy alkaline swaps gets people a free guide to know what to swap. Easy alkaline kitchen system is basically the system that they would implement in order to prep, cook, and carry their food with them anywhere so that they could stay on track. And then I have
mhm.
Easy Alkaline Kitchen Audit, where I go one on one with someone. I audit their kitchen for them, what tools they're using, help them with their system for setting themselves up so that they can just come in, make something, and not have to go through decision fatigue as to, well, what am I going to eat? Okay, I got this. Maybe I could
Wow.
that, and then just like start from scratch to eat something. That's usually a discouraging, moment. And then also
Mm.
have Easy Alkaline Kitchen for GLP-1s. So for people who are on GLP-1 right now or trying to lose weight naturally and want to either avoid GLP-1 or use it temporarily so that they could get the results without the damage, because there's a lot of side effects. You're losing bone, you're losing collagen, um, you're losing muscle, lean muscle. So
Hmm.
for every 6 pounds of that you lose on GLP-1, you lose 4 pounds of lean muscle. Did you know that?
Oof. Wow.
And without the muscle, if you lose the weight, if for whatever reason you gain the weight back, now you don't have the muscle to burn the fat. So now you're done.
Wow.
Then you also
This is so.
it also
What's an example of a GLP-1?
Wegovy and Zepbound, these
Hmm.
pharmaceutical. It's an injection.
Weight loss.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
into your stomach. It wasn't for weight loss. It was made for diabetes. So it was made
Oh, oh,
the
oh,
pancreas. But because people
oh. Okay.
ate on it, now it's used as a weight loss drug. But it reduces your bone mass, it reduces your muscle, your lean muscle, and it reduces your collagen. So you get saggy face, you
Mm.
lose the muscle, so you start to sag. If you gain the weight back, you're not going to be able to burn the fat because you don't have any muscle to do that. And you lose bone density, which is people
Wow.
are getting osteoporosis. They're getting stomach paralysis. They're getting larynx paralysis, and some people are getting blindness from it. Inside of it, there's a black box warning. The black box warning says that one of the main ingredients is a venom from what's called a helio monster. The helio monster is a South American lizard reptile, and they take the venom from that helio monster. It's one of the main black box ingredients in Wegovy and Zepbound, and it paralyzes the larynx and it paralyzes a nerve that goes all the way down to the stomach, and that's why when you do it, you're not hungry and you lose the weight. But you can get permanent stomach paralysis and permanent larynx paralysis where people can't hold food down any longer and they vomit over and over again, like for the rest of their lives. Can't hold food down.
It's it's
Skinny.
it's really scary. It's like it's appalling. Really, it's scary to hear without understanding
Now they have
what these things are going to do to them.
Medicare, and it's eligible. You're eligible for it at 12 years old.
12 years old. Wow.
So that's why we
That's that. I feel like this is a whole other conversation because I
how we
mean,
developed the
like,
GLP-1 easy alkaline for GLP-1 support. It's called the GLP-1 support plan. And it basically lays out basically how you do least detrimental foods, the foods that you can eat to save your bone, save your collagen, and save your muscle while on the drug, and how to wean off. In Europe, they do it a little.
oh,
They start you at a decent level, and then they wean you off of it so that you're off. Here, they do just the opposite. They start you with a little bit, and they increase the dosage as it goes up, and that's where you start getting all the damage.
oh, wow.
Yeah.
It really makes you because I mean, for this information to exist in terms of where these are derived from and how they actually make these changes, for the information to be out there and for these products to still be available really is just it's kind of amazing that these things
I
are
say it
approved
all
for
the time.
12-year-olds to take.
I say it all the time. Me and you, we would be locked under the jail by now.
Well, I mean, it's just it brings up so many questions, like because we're only really talking about a very small piece of
Oh, really?
people's experience today in terms of so many things that are detrimental to our health that are everyday things and that are just kind of the way that things are done, and they just don't the questions don't get asked, you know.
Uh-huh.
But that that is a conversation for another time. But Crush, I appreciate your time so much, man. I'm gonna actually have you text me something that I can put in the Architect's Journal here for my next guest.
Yeah.
And man, I appreciate you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Let me see. What could I leave? Um,
No, you can send it to me
oh, okay, I'll send it.
because we won't record it. You can just like text it to me. You can think about it a little bit.
Cool.
Um, and but yeah, any parting words?
You don't have to change the menu, just change the ingredients. That's really what it's all about.
I like that. I like that a lot. Crush, thank you so much, man.
You're very welcome.
Thank you so much. We'll talk soon.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Have a good day, man. Talk to you soon. Peace.